On this episode of Locked On Lightning, we're talking about trouble hitting Tampa even before the puck drops on the 2022-23 season. We'll talk about all that and more. But first, let's play that music.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to another episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Danker. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. If you're on YouTube, thank you for making this your first watch of the day. On today's episode, we are talking about the news that broke the other day, and that is Ian Cole, the controversy surrounding him, all the news up to date on that at this time, as well as what does this mean for the Lightning combos, the Lightning lineup going forward, not only tomorrow night as we recording this at 11:23 on Monday night, a little later obviously than I would have liked it, but some news just dropped as well on that. Not too crazy, but what does this mean for the Lightning tomorrow night in their opener against the New York Rangers? What does this mean for the Lightning going forward for the rest of the season? We cover all that and more. So really, I wanted this episode yesterday, Sunday. I wanted this episode to highlight the excitement around this team going into yet another season of Lightning hockey, getting a crack at their foes from the Eastern Conference Finals, the New York Rangers. There was a lot made there after the Lightning eliminated them, made by Ranger fans online saying that Lightning weren't as good as they really thought. Everybody thought they were, and if you got lucky this time and this, that, and the other thing. But obviously, everything that happened on Twitter threw a wrench in those plans. If you don't know what I'm talking about, news broke early yesterday, and I didn't even know about this until around 3:00. I was off Twitter all day. On Twitter, an anonymous account of someone claiming to be a victim of sexual abuse, assault, grooming, a lot of very, very, very serious charges and allegations being made from this account, with one post claiming that Lightning defenseman Ian Cole, and this was before Cole's time with the Tampa Bay Lightning, he not only engaged in inappropriate behavior. I won't get into the graphics, the details and the graphic nature of what the allegations are saying that Cole allegedly did. You could go on Twitter and look at it, or you could Google it online. I'm not going to get into all that. But yeah, Cole, an off-season addition to the Lightning, played a couple of seasons with Pittsburgh. Last year was with Carolina, and really was brought in to be a veteran presence on this team on that third line pairing with Phillip Myers, and be a little bit of a mentor to maybe some of the younger players on this team, some guys that may or may not have had that postseason experience, and as well as just be able to put a little bit more life into this team. We all know that this Lightning team is very disappointed about how things ended last year in the playoffs, the Colorado Avalanche. And so adding that veteran like Ian Cole to the mix would have been beneficial. I wasn't entirely too crazy about it at the time. But, you got to look at the positive side at the time. But now with all this going into it, this is a big deal. This is something that, it's not the first time we're hearing about in the game of hockey. But having said that, it does not mean that, we're just, every time an allegation comes out, that someone is automatically guilty. I'm not a legal expert. I know as much as anybody on social media, or, gets the notifications, knows right now about this situation. Obviously Tampa and the National Hockey League, and Gary Bettman and everybody in the higher ups are keeping this very close to the chest. So basically, this allegations came out about Ian Cole. engaging in very inappropriate, unlawful behavior with not only a woman, but at the time she was a minor in high school, and allegedly groomed her and all that stuff. It was very, very dark stuff, very stuff that you don't want anybody that or nothing you never want to hear, nothing that is ever welcome news. And there's already a lot of people on Twitter that are saying that he's guilty and this and that and the other thing. And there's also another side of people saying that this is all you know BS, and this and that, and look at his time in with Carolina and this and that. And a lot of people I hear are saying that as well, with apparently something happened with Cole and someone else in the press. He had an affair or something. I don't know. I don't really care. All I know is all I care about in this situation is the facts. And I'm sure everybody else involved does as well. The Lightning released a statement, said they were cooperating with the National Hockey League and also investigating Cole separately as well. Ian Cole released a statement through his agent saying that these allegations are completely and utterly false. And the National Hockey League also released a statement, said that they would be interviewing Ian Cole soon as well. And the Lightning also decided that they would be suspending Ian Cole with pay until further notice, until the conclusion of this investigation, which I think anybody who has been around the game of hockey or just in sports in general, especially a lot of things that have come to light, not only in sports, but in just the society over the last couple of years. I think it was the right move. I think that right now, it's beneficial to Cole to not worry about hockey. Hockey is not even, shouldn't even be in his mind right now. All he should care about is, if he is innocent, he should be focusing on clearing his name and doing that. And then the Lightning, obviously, you would have figured with, how well this organization is ran, that, they weren't going to let this linger. They weren't going to let this be a distraction. And they did exactly that. They acted quickly. And kudos to them for doing that, because I could probably think of, some situations and some franchises, whether it be in hockey or in other professional sports leagues, that maybe would have let this linger for a couple of days. Or, obviously the regular season starts tomorrow, so they didn't really have much time, and I think they did a very good job. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and debate whether or not Ian Cole is guilty of this. I'm one of those individuals that, I'm very torn on this, because one part of me is saying, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. But at the same time, if history has taught us and really what one of the cornerstones of our society and our country is built on, is that innocent until proven guilty. And it is Ian Cole's legal right to be able to stand there, defend himself, prove his innocence. And also, if it's, and it's very clear cut on what should happen. If he's guilty, my opinion, he should be charged within the full extent of the law. Should never be allowed to play hockey anywhere, ever again. And yeah, if he's innocent, obviously you never want to hear about these things happening. And it's even worse when all the evidence starts to come out. We saw what happened with the Chicago Blackhawks last year, and hopefully, I'm not saying, I don't know Ian Cole personally. I've never met him before. There's, like I said, there's people on Twitter that are already saying he's guilty because of maybe some questionable things that he has done in his personal life. If that's the case, really that's not a good enough reason to destroy someone's life based off of allegations and from an account that was, in my opinion, I just feel like all I'm going to say is that, I feel like the timing of this is very strange to me. I'm not discrediting the victims statements and what they're claiming to do, like I said, I'm going to wait to hear all the evidence that is presented to the public. And hopefully this is one of those situations where the NHL, and I feel like they very much need to do this. I feel like this is a situation where the NHL really needs to lay everything on the table. Everything that has happened over the last couple of years, like I said, not only in just society and the United States in terms of uh, civil injustice, and stuff, like I said previously alluded to with what happened with the Chicago Blackhawks. They need to lay all their cards on the table once they find out everything that has happened, and they conclude a thorough investigation. Um, that they need to let the public they need it to be public knowledge, and I think that you know I I just that's how I feel about it. There's really not much else I could say about it at this time. It's a very unfortunate situation for everybody involved, because at the end of the day, coming out, if this does come out and this does happen to be 100% true, nobody wins in this situation. Cole loses, the victim loses, everybody involved loses. So that's all I have to say about that. We'll discuss it here and there as things come to light, hopefully sooner rather than later. And hopefully this isn't something that continues to linger over the Lightning now that Cole has been separated from the team. Hopefully, all I could say that this doesn't become a distraction going forward. So that's that with Ian Cole. Next up, we'll be talking about what happens now for Tampa. Who is going to be replacing Ian Cole now that he is out of the equation? What does this mean for the team going forward? We talk about all that and more. But first, I want to talk about today's sponsor, and that is Athletic Greens. Winter's coming up. Doesn't mean you have to slack on your summer fitness plan. I know all of you have been doing a fantastic job working out, eating healthy. Well, why don't you continue that into the winter, into the fall, by grabbing yourself some Athletic Greens? Athletic Greens are lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. This is for you. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals. I start my day off with this. It's the first thing I drink when I get in the morning. It improves your gut health, gives you a fresh, if to me, it feels like 2 cups of coffee right away. Boom, without the sugar rush, without the crash. And the best part about this, with everything in the United States going up, and especially all around the world, it costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. So right now, it is time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. It's that simple. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5. That is 5 travel-free packs, free with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take advantage and ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So want to thank all of you once again for making us your first listen of the day. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow the show on our YouTube channel as well, and also on our social media channels. If you're following us on YouTube and you're watching this right now, look at the ticker below. That's all our social media information. If you're listening to us on an audio platform, we are at LO_Lightning on Twitter, as well as LockedOn_Lightning on Instagram. And also give me a follow on Twitter at DenkyDank, DENKYD8NK. Love to hear from all of you. And so, yeah, the NHL season starts tomorrow, less than 24 hours. I'm in the middle of recording this at 11:36 p.m. Eastern time, and can't believe it's here. I mean, we've been waiting for this all year long. Like I said, and as we've known for quite some time, the Lightning will be facing off against the New York Rangers. And like we just got done talking about Ian Cole and that whole situation, That leaves a spot open at the bottom line for the defensive core. And it's going to be interesting to see how John Cooper plays around with this going forward. Now, I would imagine Hayden Flurry is going to be there. He's a scrappy player. This was one of the additions to this team that I'm not going to say I was crazy about. I still think that Hayden, I'm not going to sit here and say that Hayden Flurry was going to be make or break. It wasn't a situation where I saw him available and I was like, oh my God, the Lightning have to get Hayden Flurry. No, that's not what I said. But I think he's a very good player. And I think that his addition and his addition to this Lightning team, his way of playing is going to be beneficial not only to him, but obviously to the Lightning as well. If you don't know, he was on Carolina from 2017 to 2021, and then he was traded to Anaheim and then picked up in the expansion draft, I believe, from Seattle. Not a very stellar season last year, only 36 games, 4 points, with a plus minus of, so he broke even. It was 0. So he broke even. So that's good to see at least. I think that this will be a situation in which Hayden Flurry isn't going to be, like I said, it isn't going to be make or break for Tampa with him on the ice. I think that really players like Hayden Flurry, players like Phillip Myers, I think it's going to be one of those situations from what we saw from like a Brandon Hegel. You may not necessarily see what they were brought in to do right away, at least. But what the trend that we have seen from players other than Nick Paul, Nick Paul is an anomaly. Really, what it comes down to with Hayden Flurry is it's going to be what he could get most out of the situation of playing in Tampa. And I think him having a lot of good players around him, being out on the ice on that third line. Yes, with Phillip Myers, those guys I believe it's going to take a little while for those two to get acclimated to each other to where they're going to get that level of chemistry where they're going to be able to know where each other is at the right time on the ice and be able to shift around the ice on defensive coverages when they need to. It's going to be interesting to see how those guys are able to move the puck around to dictate the offense in the zone. I would imagine at certain points when those two guys are on the ice, I think more so you're going to see a lot more play out of the forwards in terms of controlling the puck. I don't think that they're going to give up that much of possession to these guys on the ice just right away. I think John Cooper is going to have the offense, at least the offensive attack. You're going to see more so of those guys kind of playing second fiddle to that, more so just protecting against if there is a turnover in the zone, that there's nobody all the way down the ice on a breakaway. So that I think it's more going to be more of a stay home. Let's not get too aggressive approach with Hayden Flurry and Myers. It's going to be interesting to see how long until maybe that game plan changes. So really looking forward to this Rangers game with that, really, because what it comes down to is, matchups. I think that's really what it was with these two teams in the playoffs and the Eastern Conference Finals. It came down to matchups. It came down to really, and this was the big bill for the series, was goaltending. Now, obviously, the big talking point throughout the entire series, I fell victim to this as well, because I really think looking back at this series against New York last year, I think really, a lot of people looked at this series and was like, all right, it's Vasilevsky versus Shesterkin, the top dog, the big cat of the NHL in goaltending, versus the new up and comer, the next superstar in net. And obviously there was a lot back and forth between those fan bases, especially at the Garden when you had the Ranger fans chanting Igor is better and all this crap. But really, I don't feel like there was a lot of a lot more focus actually on what was happening on the ice, matchups, and that's what brings us to this whole matchups that conversation just turned into a preview, I guess, for the game. We'll do a lot more preview of against the Rangers on tomorrow's episode when we have a crossover with Locked On New York Rangers host John Chick. So keep an eye out for that. So really looking at these matchups, obviously the Ian Cole situation, I don't think really is going to change. It's not going to make or break the Lightning. This isn't, he was going to play a part on this team, but not big enough to where it was going to throw a wrench and, oh my God, now the Lightning have a question mark at this position. No, that's the best thing about what the Lightning do. And Julian Brees-Bros has been able to give John Cooper that next guy up system. So looking at the matchups now, these are projections from Daily Faceoff, and as you know, with the Lightning, these are never completely concrete. John Cooper loves to switch things up, especially in game. But first game of the season, he's going to roll out all his Stallions on the first line. You're going to have Stamkos, Point, and Cooch. I don't think anybody could argue with that. The Rangers will start off on their first line with Kreider, Zibanejad, and Capo Caco. And if that Rangers team can go toe-to-toe with Tampa. Now, I'm not, like I've stated on previous episodes, I'm not going to come into the mentality this season with Tampa, being the top dog. The last couple of seasons, the Lightning have been able to walk into the regular season kind of with their chest puffed out, basically kind of looking down on the rest of the NHL, deservingly so, being the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. Obviously, a little bit of a step back this year. I don't think they'll be lacking any confidence this year, but I think that you will see a different side of this team. It was stated I forgot who wrote the article. I don't know if it was on lightning.com or in The Athletic, but basically this Lightning team you're going to see a lot more grit in them in terms of their play. They're going to be playing with a lot more anger, a lot more, I think, no nonsense attitude. And I think that you are going to see a little bit more, and maybe this is just me wishful thinking, a little bit more of a disciplined game from these guys. As we know with Tampa, they take a lot of penalties, but they don't draw any. And that is, and I will say it until it is not, that is their biggest Achilles heel with this team. And I think really that mentality will start from that first line, from those leaders that we have on this team in Stammer, Point, and Cooch. And if the Rangers could execute the same way that we saw them execute in the playoffs, having big productions out of Zibanejad and Kreider, these two first lines will make for a fantastic matchup on the first night of the season. So looking real quick at the other matchups real quick, Hegel, Paul, and Killorn versus Panarin, Trocheck, and Kravtsov. I got to tip the Lightning in favor of that just because, you have Panarin, who is a points machine, but Nick Paul, if last year's any indication of what we might see and if he could contribute that, I think that line, especially with what the potential Brandon Hagel brings, what we know his body of work is back in Chicago, I think that the Lightning will be in a pretty good place offensively. Now, Alex Killorn, not entirely sure yet what we're going to see out of him. I mean, you could make all the assumptions you want from what you saw in preseason. I think he's going to take a little bit of a step back this season. Very worn down, a lot of miles on him, last season potentially in Tampa. So we'll have to see what we get out of him. And then you have Kopke, Nemestikov, and Colton. Honestly, I think Colton's going to get moved up to the second line on the wing, switch with Killorn. I think, Cooper will give Killorn a couple of weeks, enough rope to kind of until he runs out, and then you might see a little bit of a switch there. Nemestikov had a very good preseason. Hopefully he could carry over that production. And then you have the old school squad, the grinder squad, on the fourth line with Maroon, Belmar, and Perry. No surprises there. No issues with that either. And then on the third for the Rangers, because we've spoken about this before with the Lightning, with playoff teams. If you watch Locked On NHL on Thursday segment with Chris Masilli and I, Chris Masilli, of course, the host of Locked On Avalanche, him and I talk about this a lot. Teams win championships based off of third lines. The Rangers have, in my opinion, one of the best coming out this season with former Lightning player and favorite Barclay Goodrow on the wing, and then Phillip Myers down the middle, and then Alexis Lafreniere, the former first round draft pick, on the other side. And this is a toss up. I like I said, as much as I would like to see previously, I just said Ross Colton on that second line. I think depending on who's out there, I think that also as well. I think John Cooper will hesitate a little to switch him out, just because, especially in this game, will hesitate a little bit to switch him out. A little bit more speed there on that third line against those guys. So, and very interested to see how the Rangers' fourth line could fare against the Lightning's fourth line. I think there's going to be a lot of sparks flying early on, especially between Reeves and Barone. So we'll have to take a look at that and keep an eye out for that as well. So wrapping things up on the show, like I said, starting things off with a little bit of a topic that I don't think anybody really wants to spend a lot of time talking about. I mean, the situation in terms of how I am going to go and handle it and approach it on this show. Now, if you want to get your fill and maybe hear more about it in the meantime, until we hear new information, you could go ahead and listen to Locked On NHL. I'm sure that they will be doing some conversations on that as well, and probably a bigger picture as well on maybe what the NHL needs to do going forward. If this also does come out to be real and 100% true, this could have massive repercussions and just a lot of changes could possibly come afterwards for the NHL in terms of how they should handle situations going forward and how thorough they should be on the rules of conduct, maybe. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to get too crazy about this. Like I said, it is what it is at this point. He's off the team. Well, he's not officially off the team, but he's suspended. So in my eyes, everybody moves on for now. The Lightning move on. They start to concentrate on the season, while the other parts of the franchise will be investigating the matter. But the team that we're talking about, from John Cooper all the way down to the backup goalie, we are focusing on hockey and all the news happening around the team as the season goes on. And yeah, I'm not going to talk about it because it is what it is at this point. So looking forward to, like I said before, remember, we will have a crossover episode with John Chick of Locked On Rangers coming out tomorrow, and then probably a post-game reaction, if not maybe if maybe some news breaks, or maybe if there's more to talk about before the game starts, I'll hop on and maybe record a little bit, or we'll post something to the social media accounts, which is why it is very important you follow us. So LO_Lightning on Twitter, as well as Locked On_Lightning on Instagram. Keep an eye out for that. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Love hearing from all of you. Post your comments, post your questions. I still see people commenting about the Maple Leafs episode. We did miss one team in the Atlantic Division, and that was the Buffalo Sabres. It is what it is at this point. So we'll talk about. I don't think we're going to get into that. Obviously, we could just talk about them once the Lightning happens. The Lightning play them. But yes, so keep an eye out for that. And also we shall see. Super excited for the NHL season. Like I said, I can't believe it's finally here. So That's been it for this episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Danker. I'll talk to you in the next one.